He slammed the file onto my desk so hard that my pen rolled off the edge. "I need the money tomorrow," he barked. 800,000. It's your sister's debt. No delays. He said it like he was asking for a glass of water, like I hadn't already given him everything I had. I looked up at the man who called himself my father. The creased suit, the cold eyes, that same suffocating air of authority he'd carried my entire life. He stood there with his arms crossed, waiting for me to obey. I smiled, small, calm. Okay. He took that as surrender. But in that moment, I decided he'd never get another thing from me again. 4 hours later, I was at the airport. My father was the kind of man who thought control was love. He built his empire on intimidation, and our family was just another asset he managed. My sister Claire was his favorite, spoiled, impulsive, fragile, and adored. Every mistake she made, I cleaned up. Every debt, every lie, every tear. Because I was the responsible one, the fixer. He used to say, "You're stronger than her, that's why you handle things." I believed that once, until I realized handling things meant sacrificing myself so they could stay comfortable. I remember the first time I saw him for who he really was. I was 17, standing outside his office, listening to him tell Claire he'd take care of her tuition problem by using my college fund. He didn't even hesitate. I was standing right there, and he didn't even look at me. That was the day I stopped being his son and became his solution. When he dropped that file on my desk yesterday, it was déjà vu. Same tone, same entitlement. Only now, I wasn't 17 anymore. The papers detailed Claire's newest disaster. A failed investment, debts in her name, but with his signature all over them. He'd made sure it was legally my problem to fix. 800,000, he called it family responsibility. I called it the last straw. That night, I didn't yell. I didn't beg. I just sat at my desk and read every page. That's when I realized something. He'd never noticed how much I'd learned from him. Years of watching him manipulate people had taught me more than he ever intended. I knew his patterns, his weaknesses, his secrets, and I knew exactly how to bring him down without ever touching him. By morning, I had already moved every cent from my accounts to a secure offshore one under a name he didn't know existed. Then I cleaned out the house. Not my things, his. Every watch, every ledger, every flash drive he'd ever left behind during his visits. I placed them all in a wooden box. At the bottom, I added a USB drive filled with his confidential files, financial statements, fake contracts, evidence of tax evasion, hidden shell companies. He taught me to keep records, so I did. The box was heavy when I carried it to the center of my living room. I taped an envelope to the lid, sealed with red wax. On the front, I wrote, "For you." At 9:15 a.m., I left for the airport. No messages, no explanations, just silence. By noon, I was in the air, watching the city shrink beneath me. Freedom felt strange at first. Too light, too quiet. But back home, he'd be arriving around that time, expecting me to open the door, expecting cash in his hands. Instead, he'd find a locked house, a silent room, and that box. I pictured it perfectly. His impatient knocks, the muttered curse when he spotted the box, the greedy curiosity convincing him it was money. Then, the moment he opened it. Inside, no cash, just paper. Stacks of documents exposing his crimes, and a note on top that read, "You said I owed you everything I am, so here's everything I know. You taught me power, now feel it." I didn't have to wonder what happened next. An hour later, my phone started buzzing. Missed calls, messages. First anger, then panic, then desperation. He had no idea how I got those files. He didn't know I'd been documenting him for years. Every shady deal, every illegal transfer. He used to call it family business. The government calls it financial misconduct. I'd already sent anonymous copies of everything to the authorities. That box wasn't just payback. It was evidence. By sunset, the news broke. His name was trending for all the wrong reasons. Investigations launched, accounts frozen, the empire he'd built on fear falling apart. And me? I was standing on a balcony in Lisbon, watching the river burn orange under the setting sun. He was finally learning what it felt like to lose something you thought you controlled. People think revenge means fire and chaos, but the most powerful kind is silence, the kind that leaves them screaming into a void that never answers back. He must have screamed when he opened that box, realizing too late that I'd never been his obedient son. I'd been his student, and he'd taught me far too well. Hen, I turned off my phone for the last time. I didn't feel guilt or grief, just peace. Pure, quiet peace.